Hey, Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome to Old World. Old World is a very interesting 4X game. It takes place entirely within the ancient era, but it's kind of like somewhere between a 4X game and something like Crusader Kings 3, because it has so many events. The event system is the real sort of driving powerhouse in a lot of the systems, and it's really, really cool. So that's why I'm really looking forward to showing you this, guys, because I feel like there's a market out there for players who really like games like Crusader Kings, who really like games like EU4, but the actual gameplay of those games is kind of And I think this game is the game that sort of delivers a similar experience event-wise and all the modifiers and all that sort of stuff, but the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is more like a traditional 4X game. Now, instead of picking my my leader, I'm going to essentially roll a dice. So I'm going to roll a number between 1 and 7, and that will pick my leader. Okay, I rolled 7, which means we are going to be playing Rome today. So Rome is an interesting faction. They have a little bit of a story blurb here. Here's the picture, and they have a bunch of stats as well. So they start with ironworking, which gives them access to the melee infantry warrior unit, as well as stone cutting, which allows them to build forts and quarries. They also have polis, which allows them to build hamlets, as well as walls, and they can also do some diplomatic actions. Because actually, the interesting thing about this game is what you can actually do, like, diplomatically changes as you, like, make your way through the tech tree. And also what you can do with your government changes as you make your way through the tech tree. You know, you might unlock a technology that gives you access to, like, a chancellor or something like that. Our first unique unit, rather, is the Hastatus, which is a infantry unit with 20 HP and 6 combat strength. To put that in perspective, the basic melee infantry unit has 4 combat strength. This has a 20% bonus towards other infantry, and it has zone of control, ignores zone of control, has a bonus against range units, and it upgrades to a legionary, which is a 2 combat strength higher unit with all the same bonuses. That is a little bit harder to get and a little bit stronger to fight and harder to maintain. Then we have the Shrine of Mars, the Shrine of Vulcan, the Shrine of Venus, and the Shrine of Vesta as our pagan sort of buildings. We can also opt to go for a religion or stick with paganism. And then we have 4 families. We have the champions, who are more militaristic. We have the landowners, which are more growth focused, more rural sort of oriented. We also have the patron family, which is more about sort of culture and law, and then the statesmen, which are more about sort of empire and law. And our leader is a tactician, and he can serve as a general or a spy master. Let's go ahead and jump in. I think we'll do a little bit of an advanced setup. I'm only going to play on the sort of average difficulty. This should be about equivalent to playing on Prince in something like Civ 6, but I'm not super familiar with the game. Like, it's been a while since I've played it, so I'm going to play on the basic difficulty and see how far we get. I think I will set the turn scale back to years. You can opt to play as 1 turn being 1 year, but you can also opt to play as 1 turn being 1 semester. And if you play with semesters, your characters will live a little bit longer and you'll get more events for them and maybe develop them a little bit more. So that can actually be kind of fun, but I think it would be more fun also. Do I want to play years or semesters? Semesters has a lot of fun to it because you get to stick with your characters for longer. Yeah, no, we'll just play with years because that's sort of the standard thing. And then we're just going to do a standard map, right? Standard mortality for opponents, Rome, normal succession things. I might up, like, you know, tribes to normal just to make them a little bit more interesting and stronger. Otherwise, everything else is going to be fairly normal. We'll play on continent. Should be a small circumnavigable continent that we can have a bit of fun on. And let's just get started. There's a ton of options here. Like, you can opt to do a 1 city challenge. You can role play, randomize families. You can have all tribes are barbarians, which is really, really interesting. So you won't have any barbarian tribes. I think the game is a little bit more interesting if you do actually have the barbarian tribes. So we'll keep those in. Rome in the Old World. You are King Romulus, the founder of Rome, a young nation in an old world full of established powers that have not heard of you yet. Select your settler and found your capital city. So this is the tutorial. I got to keep the tutorial enabled because it will give me an opportunity to talk about the various game systems, which is nice. So this is our starting settler, and at the start of the game, like, we can theoretically only step on tiles. You can see here, I'm trying to move off this, but you're only allowed to step on the various tiles of the actual city that you start on in order to settle it. So I could put my city center on the coast, or I could put my city center out here. If I move my city center up a tile, it will claim this sort of ruins over here, I think, as well as this sheep. And there are like map options so I can see resources a little bit easier, which might make my decision simpler. Like you can see over there, I have salt, I have horses, I have crabs, I have pearls, I have even more crabs and pearls, I have sheep. I think settling in place here is totally reasonable. This is a continents map, so there's going to be a decent amount of coastline. Now the question is, what kind of city do we want to settle? Do we want our first city to be our champions? We can only ever pick 3 of these families to have in our entire game. So if we were to settle the champions, for example, this would be much better at sort of producing military units. Maybe I would be more aggressive against the barbarians early game. The Claudius here, they would be much better at growing a really big city, but especially a city that actually generates a lot of rural resources, things like food, things like iron, things like stones, things like wood, which are all resources up here in the top of the screen that we can generate. And then the patrons are more like I don't know how exactly to describe it. They're more cultural, basically. They're better at culture stuff. They're better at building more urban specialists and stuff like that, because they get a lot of culture from their specialists. And then the statesmen here are better at sort of money generation, empire management, law and order, all that sort of stuff. I think I like the idea of founding the Fabians here, because when we found their capital, we will get a garrison here. And I think getting the garrison would mean I would be able to place a governor in this city and be able to actually get a really, really good start into the game. So I think we go for the champions. And settling our city, we found a river. I will just call this the river that it is, and we got some legitimacy. Now this is a tutorial about the orders in the game. So this is something that I've always wanted in a 4X game, and this is the first 4X game that I've actually had it sort of deliver this mechanic. And it's very, very simple. There is a limit to the number of actions you can take per turn. So I'll talk a little bit more about that once I pick a tech here. So I could choose divination if I want to go more in a shrine direction, more religious focus. These are technologies. I could go treasury and granary if I want to grow my city a little bit more, or I can go slinger if I want to go warfare. Do I want to go camps or shrines? Let's have a look at the tech tree. Now, one of the sort of important things to pick up early can be forestry, but I'd also like to pick up barracks early, particularly as Rome. Rome does really, really good stuff with barracks. Slavery is also quite a useful technology to pick up early because it gives you a lot of extra orders. +5 orders early game is very, very strong. Let's see. Yeah, I think I might head towards military drill and forestry. And what this will do is whenever now I look at my tech options, if there's a technology that I have like targeted, it will sort of put a little green thing up here. And if it's a prerequisite for a technology I've targeted, it'll also put a green thing. So I think I'll pick up trapping here, go in a more militaristic direction. So yeah, anyway, because we seated we founded our seat with the champions, we actually got this building right here. This is a garrison, and it is basically an urban improvement that gives us a few abilities. You can see here, it gives me a little bit of orders, which is this resource that we use to move our units, because you can move a unit multiple times per turn. For example, I could move this warrior all the way over to here, but that cost me 3 orders. You can see I can also undo my moves. That's an integral part of the orders mechanic, because if you misclick, you need to be able to undo. So like moving to here is 1 order, moving to here is 2 orders. This is my 3rd order, and then that's my 4th order. And so I can undo each of those individual moves, because moving a military unit costs orders, but so does moving a builder. And if your builder is building an improvement, it'll eat 1 order per turn. And early game, you don't really have a good source of wood, so you do have to kind of use orders to chop those down. So there's like a lot of micromanagement in the very, very early game. I think getting the salt online would be good. It would give me culture in my capital, but also, yeah, I think I go for the salt mine here. Culture and gold early. Gold can be used to buy any of the resources. So I'm going to go pick up that mine here. I think that'll also give me access to a luxury. And then this is the scout. The scout can be used to explore the world. I'm going to go grab that ruin right there. And I'll pick up actually 450 stone from that, because we might be able to use that stone to actually build a wonder. If we have a look here, the pyramids, we do have to get the culture of our city up, I believe. Let me see here. Requires arid or sand. Oracle. I could build the Oracle. Let's see, what do I need to build the Oracle? 200 food, 400 stone, and 100 civic. And it would take 10 years. It would give me +2 victory points, plus 10 gold per religion, and give me extra tech card hand size, which means instead of picking from 3 technologies when I pick a tech, I would pick from 4, and I would get a free agent in all holy cities. Now the agent is agent network. Okay, I don't know what that does, but the Oracle could be helpful. It would be good. I could also go for the hanging gardens if I wanted to go more in a growth direction. This would give me 2 population growth per year in my cities, and then also 4 culture. I'd love to get the Great Ziggurat. I think I'm going to go for the Oracle or the hanging gardens here. I think it makes sense, and I may go for the Oracle just because wood is a lot harder to come by early game compared to food. Now I've got 2 orders left, and I think I'll use them on my scout so I can learn a bit more. We've also found our very first tribe. This is the Danes, and usually when you meet the Danes, you will get a event. You'll get an event with a tribe, and then once you have met them, they'll start continuously giving you events. I'm probably going to be going to war with all the tribes this game, so that'll be part of the fun. And we can actually select the governor for Rome. Now, I could put Ilya the Orator. Who is Ilya? Let's see. Ilya is a member of which family? The Valerius family? Let's have a look. Who are you, Ilya? She's a 44-year-old female. That's my mother. So I could make my mother the governor of this city. Her abilities would give the city +4 civics per turn and -2 gold per turn, which are honestly not like that bad early, because you need civics to actually build specialists, which we'll talk about when we come to it. So I may actually put her in charge of the city. And then Antonia the Younger is slightly worse in civics but better in gold. And then I could put myself in charge, and that would give me extra growth, extra military production, extra science, and extra gold. I don't have the orders to assign someone to the city just yet, so I'm going to hold off on that. But I think I may put my mother in charge of the city, because those civic points are really hard to come by. So now it's a brand new turn. We get orders at the start of every turn, and now I can assign Ilya to this city. It is a slight loss of gold, but I think overall she'll do a good job governing this city. Now she gets 2 experience per year for governing the city, which isn't much, but I think as the city grows and gets bigger, governors eventually get more experience, and once they obtain enough experience, they'll actually level up and get new traits and abilities. We found another little ruin here. Hungry lore keepers. Our explorers find a family of starving lore keepers encamped in the ruins, surviving on scraps. Pleading for help, they offer to share their mastery of oratory in exchange for food. So I could acquire rhetoric for 200 food, or I could gain discipline on King Romulus here, which will increase my gold income by 16, because your leader's stats and the stats of your family actually generate you resources. If I go to court members here, oh, my leader is actually unmarried, interestingly enough. I don't know if I can spare 200 food in the early game, because you use food to build settlers and stuff like that. I would really like rhetoric, but I'm going to go ahead and just take the discipline here. That 16 gold per turn is also pretty valuable. So I've moved my scout, I've explored a bunch, and I still have 5 orders left. I think I'm going to send my warrior to maybe start dealing with these barbs. He'll probably take a hit, but he should be able to clear this on his own. And our city is automatically building a settler for us, which is nice. All right, so we took 1 damage there. That's fine. Let's come forward and we'll blap him. There we go. That's the first attack. Should take just 2 more. I saw a thing down here. Let's see if we can explore in that direction. Let's grab that ruin. So I could actually get myself another scout here. Or I could get a court scholar. Now, a court scholar could be useful because they can be used to educate my children and stuff like that. But I think I'm going to go for the extra scout here. And I'm just going to kind of run him off in a direction. Let's see. You can see, what I like about this game is you can see mountains in the fog of war really, really far away. Even if you can't technically see the terrain. So I can see that there's a bunch of mountains down here, volcanoes even. So this is actually, I think, a lake rather than a access. I may have spawned in the center of this continent. So I think I'm going to keep exploring you this way. I have the orders now to kind of yeet you in this direction. We'll have a little bit of a look around here. You've already attacked. Yeah, and that's my turn, and we'll finish the salt mine next turn. All right, so now that we've finished the salt mine, you can see here, if I open up the city window, I have the option to add a miner specialist. And what this does is it basically multiplies the resource generation of this tile by 50% as a way of, like, basically I put a citizen in this tile to work it again, because like the actual improvement generates some resources, and then this guy generates even more. And these guys typically, they extract 50% of the, you know, the numbers here of what this is producing, and then they also add some of their own yield. So like a miner will add +1 training per year, which is used to train military units, but also all specialists give you +1 science as a baseline, I think it is. So the extra civics we're getting from my mother governing the city actually is helpful because it means we could build this a lot quicker. I think our baseline civics is 8 and she's giving us 4, so that's a 50% faster. It would only take us 4 turns rather than 6. And the other consequence of this is it will actually expand my city borders, which is pretty helpful. So this is about the nested tooltip system. Rather than show this, I'm going to kind of like do it myself. If I hover over this worker and then like say, for example, let's just hover over the farm, I can middle click and that will keep this tooltip open no matter where my mouse goes. And then I can sort of hover over more and more things. So for example, let's say I wanted to see, okay, replace the mine. All right, I want to look at the mine, and then I want to look at the Shrine of Vulcan, and then I want to look at Roman paganism or divination, and then I want to look at the idle infantry, longbowmen, archers. So you can kind of explore all of the tooltips and be able to really get the information you need about the game just from the tooltips. And that's the wonderful thing about this game, is that it's almost like the Civilopedia exists here. Like it's just, the Civilopedia is in the tooltips. And just by middle clicking and exploring the tooltips, you'll learn a lot about the game. And like if you ever have a question about, okay, how does this actually work? All you got to do is click on the tooltip. The game will explain itself to you essentially. So we have to make a decision about whether or not we want to build a wonder. And I think the Oracle is pretty good here. I may pop it on this hill over here. It does kind of suck to use 200 of my early game food on a wonder. I don't like that, but there are ways to get food using scouts. And we have a huge amount of stone. The free tech card hand size gives me lots of control over my civilization and how our technology develops towards certain things. So I think getting the Oracle here is totally fine. It'll take a long time to build. But let's kind of open up here. Now, scouts can do something interesting. All civilians can. It's N for this. Basically, let's say I was like, oh man, I'm low on food. I can put a scout on a citrus tile here, and then I can choose to harvest. It costs me an order, but it does get me like a little bit of resources. Now, you can't keep harvesting a resource. You have to kind of come back to it. But it is like a fantastic way to supplement your early game economy. The emissary, the Scythians, arrived with a gift of wood in the hope of establishing peaceful relations with us. She explains the Scythians specialize in growing and harvesting wood in sustainable ways and has led to great prosperity for them. So I could say tremendous. This will maintain our initial truce. Truce is kind of like a basically enforced peace. I could say cut them down. This will give me extra legitimacy, which the amount of legitimacy that you have gives you better opinions and more orders. So if I could get my legitimacy up to like 100, I would get like 10 orders per turn and stuff like that. Let's see here. I could get 60 culture in my capital here, which is basically just an upgraded version of this. So the question is, do I want to go to war or do I want the culture? I think I'm going to take the culture because that will almost completely fill the culture bar in Rome. And while there are downsides to upgrading your culture, it generally just means you get good events. Generally, upgrading the culture in your cities will get you a positive event. But I think I'm going to try to explore past the Scythians here and see if I can learn more about the world. The more I know about the world, the better. Let's pop onto that hill here. And then this hill. So hills give you more vision, and discovering new resources also gives you a little bit of a boost of food, which is always really, really nice. But that's it. I'm out of orders, and that's the end of this turn. My poor little warrior over here is taking a bit of damage. I should be able to clear this pretty easily. Yeah, now that's my... so I've taken control of the city site. So unlike other 4X games, where you might actually choose exactly where your city goes, in this game there's kind of like predefined settlement locations. So you can see here there's a settlement there's a settlement there that has a barb camp on it, there's another settlement here with a barb camp, there's an empty city site here, and then an empty city site over here. And then there's like random little chunks of urban stuff that's usually left behind by ruins. Some barbs here that I want to avoid. All right, some good exploration is happening. Go grab those horses. Use an order, then tap that. Let's see, so we found some cursed land. Our scouts report that this area is cursed and blighted. Little vegetation grows here and there's no animals to be seen. A foul smell hangs in the air and the ghastly moans can be heard throughout the region. At the center of the cursed land, they discover a deep pit in the ground which seems to be the source of the moans and stench. Peering over the edge, they can see fires burning deep below the earth. So it seems like we found some sort of natural pit filled with flames. We can fill the accursed hole and get some legitimacy, which has some long-term possibilities, or we could pick up a court scholar. Now my court is a little bit empty. Let's grab the court scholar. So this is Porcia. Porcia is a court scholar. It means that she can serve as a general, a governor, or an agent. Her abilities are she's very wise and she has discipline. I may See, so you can see here, because I just got her, she's actually giving me some of that science as well as some of that gold. So having people in your court is actually very, very valuable for your empire. It's going to be the main source of your science in the early game, I feel like. And then as you go sort of later in the game, you'll find things like citizens and cities will give you more. So there is some desert down here and quite a bit of arid land, somewhere maybe to build the pyramids later if no one else takes them. Okay, so that something just happened there. I accidentally clicked on the text screen. So you can see here we have 4 choices on our text screen, and military drill is the technology that we are targeting, but we have drawn actually a bonus card. So once you start researching technologies, you'll start to get bonus cards in your technology tree. And what these are basically technologies that you can research once for a short-term bonus. So it's a way to turn your science into a sort of on-map advantage. Whereas, learning how to build pastures, while valuable, doesn't necessarily help my empire right now. Whereas I can also choose to spend my science to pick up this boost. And here's the thing, I can only ever get one opportunity to take this. If I don't take this free settler right now, I will never get this card again. So I'm going to take that free settler because that means I could pop down a city on this city site and I could pop down a settler on this city site. We have a marriage offer. So the Fabius family, which are the champions who we settled their capital city, have a marriage proposal for my king. They want to offer me Porcia the scientist, who is the woman I just brought into my empire, I believe, or Antonia the younger. And let's see here. I will get a little bit of a dowry if I marry her. She is highly charismatic and highly disciplined, whereas Porcia, I believe, is more of a sciencey kind of character. And I kind of like the idea of taking her. She's a tactician, so she can't serve as a governor, unfortunately. Antonia is a judge, so she can work as a governor. And being a governor, actually, for her means she can, if I make her a governor of my city, I won't quite get some of the advantages that I would with my mother governing the city, but I will be able to hurry specialists with money, which might be a really good use of my money in the early game to sort of build up my specialist economy. So Antonia the Younger is kind of appealing to me, whereas Porcia is appealing to me just for that raw science, because I believe if someone is your wife, you get the full benefit of their skills, but if they're just a member of your court, you only get a certain percentage of the benefit. But I think for the sake of maybe being able to use her her science, I'm going to go ahead and marry Porcia here, because that should net me. Queen Consort Porcia. Oh, is she serving now as a court scholar and my wife? So I'm getting double benefit from her science? Oh, that's incredible. I didn't know that's how that worked. But yeah, I could do interactions with my wife. I could divorce her. I can do an intercession, I can influence her, and all of these events have various effects and outcomes. So I could spend 200 gold in 2 orders to try to improve her relation with me, and that will either increase my relations with her or increase my relations and lower my legitimacy, and it will also give me some XP. So, when you get into like the mid-late game and you have like a massive, really, really strong economy, it can be worth it to spam some of these kind of events where you're trying to influence people, or even just hold court and stuff like that to try to get your characters to level up once or twice, because leveled up characters start to become very, very powerful. And so we're now married, which is kind of neat. I have a warrior here. Let's try and clear that guy out. The nice thing is we are picking up a lot of experience on this guy. He's almost a full level, and you can kind of promote units whenever you feel like in this game. It's just if the unit has experience, it'll be much cheaper to upgrade them, which I think is a really, really cool system because it gives you a decent bit more control over how your army develops. And it also means that having a strong economy in terms of training almost directly translates into having a stronger military. So, great migration. Broken vessels and strange markings indicate that these ruins were once occupied by a tribe from beyond the sea. Such a discovery inspires you to expand beyond your realm to new worlds. So I think this is like maybe a reference to the Bronze Age collapse or something. So I could gain 2 more scouts, or I could gain 75 science. I like the idea of gaining 75 science and then immediately getting that free settler, but I had just started this turn. So where do I want to settle this city? On the left or the right? See, I could also send them over there. I think it's better if I take over these unoccupied cities. I think I might settle to the left. Yeah, I'll settle on the river. And now I have to choose, do I want to found another Fabian city? Now, skipping a family seat, I still have 2 seats left to pick, will mean that the city will have a lot of discontent. Now, I could go for the landowners, which are more of a rural type guys. And actually, I kind of like the idea of maybe going a rural direction here. If I look at this land, there's not a whole lot of urban tiles. So this would may be better off instead of being developed as a breadbasket where I just generate a ton of resources. Because we do have citrus, which would give me growth. What would be on the seat? Would this city over here be better as a breadbasket maybe? No, I think this is going to be a breadbasket city. So I may do landowners here. Now I could do patrons, which would allow me to spend money to hurry things. I may actually skip the statesman here. I may go like patrons, landowners, and stuff like that. So I'm going to use the landowners here, and we found a landmark, so we gain a little bit of legitimacy, which is cool. And the first thing I'm going to do in this city, because it has a naturally high growth because it's the landowners, and it's also connected to my capital city. You can see here, if I press V, you can see this is our trade map mode, and any tile that's colored in with green means that essentially it can be connected to my capital, and cities that are connected to my capital get a bonus to their discontent, which is basically their unhappiness, as well as their growth. I think a couple of other things happen too. Now the question is, how militaristic do I want to be in the early game here? I think the real thing to do with the landowner cities is to develop my economy. So I'm going to probably go for 2 workers in here to start building that up, and just start spamming out a ton of improvements and make this a very, very rural urban or rural city based around sort of improving tiles rather than much else. But yeah, that's that city decided. I have legitimacy tutorial. Basically legitimacy, higher legitimacy gives you more orders and improves your standing with the nation's family. So you can see every time I found a city, they'll have like a different symbol here, and the different symbols will basically dictate my, tell you who owns the city. And then if I go to the families, let me see where, here's the families. You can see here's the Fabius family. Here's how they feel about me and why. And then here's the Claudius family, and here's how they feel about me and why. I don't think they have a head of the family yet because they were only just settled. But now I can choose a new technology. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the stone boost. I like to pick up boost cards. I don't know. I'm very much so a booster. I feel like being able to convert my science into some sort of advantage on the map is really, really powerful and quite rare. And so I often go for it. Let's see here. It would be nice to have roads pretty early. Also, I like unlocking lumber mills early because it can be hard to get wood. As silly as that sounds in a certain angle of thought. But you'll notice there's no actual music playing. I believe the music in the game only starts playing after you research drama, which is kind of a cool little touch that I like. Let's see here. Rally troops. Lumber mills are cool, but I don't need them just yet. I might pick up military drill here so I can get barracks. This would allow me to, if I were to build a couple of barracks in my capital, it would actually allow me to use this for its purpose, which is to create a very, very large and very, very powerful military very, very quickly, which is basically what I plan to do in my capital city. This is going to be, basically, it's where I train my military. We'll set up another city over here, and that'll be the 3 empty plots nearby me that I've claimed, and then there'll be another plot over here I can claim. We killed him, so this guy actually gained a level, and we'll be able to promote him next turn, which is cool. We have another event. Use second city. Cities can be claimed prior to the settler. Place a unit on the city to claim it, thereby preventing foreign settlers. Yeah, if you occupy a city tile, by the way, people can't settle on it. They have to kill you to get you out of it. Choose which family, a city, third district family. So be careful what family you can go out. Succession. We have an heir. Prince Titus is my son, and he will take over when we die. So Prince Titus has been born. And then ambitions. All right, nice. So this is our very first ambition. And ambitions are a way to increase your legitimacy. And I believe if you complete ambitions, you also get a little bit of sort of points towards winning the game. And whoever gets 59 points first essentially wins. So I think the Control 4 cities ambition would be relatively easy for me to pull off. Killing 5 military units is more my speed as Rome though, so I'm going to take that because I may declare war on the Scythians. It all depends on how much exploration I get around them. Alright, let's have a look. This guy took a little bit of a hit, so I'm going to kind of run him away. I will harvest the wheat. I'm more interested in knowing what's up with the Scythians. Like, are they here to the south of me? We found a river. The Jaxartes River. Very cool. Finding rivers is nice because it does give you legitimacy. And right now I have a truce with the Scythians, so they'll kind of tolerate me exploring around them. There's another ruin for us to pick up. I love finding ruins in this game because they give you events that actually like have some pretty big impacts. It's one of the things in the game that I think has been, like the whole event system has been done just wonderfully in my opinion. Yeah, let's go ahead and end the turn. All right, so let's have a look. Which tile do we want to settle this city on? If I settle all the way over to here, it would claim a bunch of extra resources, so I think I'll do that. Settle on the far side. Now, do I want to found the Valerius family or do I want to found the Julius family? And I think we had decided that we would found the Valerius patrons because that will give me access to a new court minister. I'll be able to hurry things with money, and it'll also give me a little bit of civics and culture in here. Now, the Julius family is really, really good because they give you a ton of orders, which combos really well with the champions. Man, that's actually really tough. It would also give me decree upon the family seat, which is a way to get even more orders. And I would start with a treasury. I could have even done a slavery rush with these guys. Let's see. Patrons. I really like the idea of the patrons though. And there are ways you can get orders later in the game. Having orders is really nice though. Ooh, this is actually our tough choice. The first two were easy for me, but this one is tough. Do I want to go for the Valerius seat or the Julius seat? You know what? The extra orders are actually so good if I'm going to go for a militaristic direction. So I'm going to go ahead and settle the Julius family. So I have the Fabius, Claudius, and Julius family. Now the Julius family is going to be more of a supporting family. At least in the early game, doing things like decree would be super useful. But I think every city basically almost has to start with either a worker or a military unit. And I think getting a slinger here would be helpful because there is actually a barbed camp to my south here and another one down here. And I'd like to clear both of them if I could. So I'll probably go double worker into settler in Ostia. We got a culture event. Every time your city sort of gathers up enough culture to level the city up, you will get a culture event. This one is a tutorial one, which always gives you a worker. So you can see here now the culture in this city is developing, which I believe if I go to Rome, the Hastatus is a unit that requires a developing culture, but it also requires a stronghold. Now, in order to get a stronghold, I think I'd have to go to the tech screen and I would have to unlock sovereignty in order to actually build the stronghold. And so I'm going to mark that as a goal destination that we want to head towards. Technologically. So we got our stone boost, which helped with our tech a little bit. Let's go ahead and pick up military drill because I want to be able to get those barracks because I want to be able to spam out units from Rome. And our warrior unit has been hard at work and they're ready for leadership. They want me to become a general of this unit, which is probably not a terrible unit or a terrible idea because it would give the unit +1 movement. It would give them a little bit of a crit chance, a little bit of damage and some experience per year, as well as immunity to critical hits. Yeah, let's go ahead and join the field of battle. So now my leader Romulus is in charge of this warrior. Now that's a double-edged sword because this unit is stronger, but it's also if they die it's not good. I'm going to give them, because it's a melee unit, I'm going to give them the tough promotion, which gives them a 10% combat boost if they are wounded. See, time to learn about succession laws. On the top left side of the top bar, you can open the inheritance screen with the crown button. Show you your current heir and succession laws, blah, 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 blah. Changing your succession laws cost 200 civics. And if we go up here, you can see this is the inheritance screen, or rather, this is the family tree. You can see here, I am King Romulus, my brother is Duke Remus, my current heir is Prince Titus. This guy is first in line with the throne, this guy is second in line with the throne, and my mother is, I can't quite tell. She may be like third in line, I don't know. But you could change your law. I could go to seniority here, which would basically make it that the oldest member of my family becomes a sort of ruler of my country. I could say lateral, which means the oldest direct line from the founder, which means if I were to die, it would go to Duke Remus. Or you can go for ultra mogeniture, which would mean that the youngest son or youngest child of the family would rule. And then I think there's also gender laws or something you could do. I can't remember. But I think in the default game rules, it will always favor male heirs. So I could, in theory, I believe, build the Ishtar Gate here. It would cost me basically my entire country's economy, but it would give me extra growth per year and get me a culture event in every single one of my cities that I have right now. So I could build the Ishtar Gate. It would be expensive. It would basically wipe out all of my iron and all of my stone for a wonder, which I do like the idea of, but I'm not going to do that right now because I would like to develop my economy a little bit. I could also build the Hanging Gardens, which would be a slightly cheaper endeavor, but I think the big thing for me here is to maybe try to start developing my economy a little bit. I'll need more mines, I'll need more lumber mills, I'll need more boats. Ooh, I could build a lighthouse too. Extends trade network, +5 gold per year per specialist. Yeah, I think the big thing here is to start pulling in resources. So I'm going to build a mine on this hill because that's worth 8 iron per turn once it's finished. All right, let's pick this up. We found a sacred tomb. Expedition approaches an ancient monument. We can leave the tomb undisturbed, which will give me the gracious ability. That gives me +2 heart. I don't remember what heart is. Maybe it's like compassion or something, which would give me extra civic points per turn, and it would make my warrior better on the defense. It's telling me that because I am in governing that unit. I could get some legitimacy from destroying the tomb, or I could study it. I think I'm going to go for the gracious here, because I like having leaders with lots of stats, that extra civics here, and it also means that my generalship is a little bit more meaningful. I'd like to get this unit moving to actually go fight things in a perfect world, so I'll probably get this warrior here to take over. A little bit of exploration also is quite nice. Picking up some resources from finding things. The quarters to read. Oh, we found the Vandals. Okay, make it clear. So I could become intelligent, which will give me +1 science per year per culture level in all of my cities because I'm the leader, and it would also make me better if I was the governor of a city. It will change my relationship to foolish and intelligent characters, or I can become cunning, which will make all other leaders have a higher opinion of me. I think I'm going to go for the intelligent thing here. A little bit of extra science goes a long way, especially because in this game you can draw those cards that give you special bonuses. Ooh, I could take over this spot, but there is a barb unit running around, so I might avoid him. Because scouts can take damage, they can't deal damage, I don't believe. It's the one downside of scouts. Hurry production. Roma has reached the developing culture level, which means we can now hurry production there. With the culture level developing, a city can hurry production at the cost of some civics and discontent. Other methods of hurrying production are further enabled by certain governor traits as state religion or laws like orthodoxy and volunteers. The distinct means of hurrying production cost resources other than civics, although they do all produce discontent. So yeah, basically you can hurry things in your cities at the cost of happiness and some resource. So let's say, for example, in here, I was like, you know what? I need like a settler right now. I could sort of prioritize the settler and spend 520 of my 600 civics to immediately get the settler and 24 discontent in here, which I kind of like the idea of doing. So I'm going to rush out a settler here so I can settle this city over here to the west. And I think that's a really powerful use of the rush mechanic. All right, let's check this out. We've got the seashore find. While exploring a remote stretch of seashore, we discover a curious shell scattered among the shallows. This shell, when ground into powder, produces a pleasant purple dye that is perfect for fabrics. This is actually, I believe, in reference to the real world way that they got. Is it Tyrian purple? It's basically a snail, and you have to like grind up thousands of them in order to get them. Now I think I could get Triumph in Thoranda, which is this city here, as that event, and +2 training would basically mean that as Rome you get +2 training as a baseline, which means you train military units essentially 25% faster in the early game, because everyone starts out with 8 in every resource. Growth is used to build workers and civilians, as well as grow your population. Training is used to build military units, as well as to upgrade them, and it's basically your sort of military resource. And then civics are used to do decrees and train specialists, and it's also your legal resource. So getting +2 training here on top of what we have, because it's a permanent +2, would essentially mean that we would recruit units basically 50% faster than other civs in the game in that city, which would give me a lot of flexibility, and just generally having +2, +2 military income is always really, really nice. Now, the important thing is, if I'm not building a military unit, these training resources get put into my training stockpile. But if I am training a military unit, it all gets put into the city. I don't actually get the benefit of that. Do I want to promote this guy again? I've got Highlander, Strike. Strike is just a straight up 10% attack boost. Fierce is combat strength against infantry. I like the idea of combat strength against infantry. Make this guy just really, 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 really good at murder and infantry. But I don't need to do that just yet, because I'm waiting for that settler to come settle that city. Yeah, I don't know what the barb situation down here is, but I'd like to get a military unit over there to clear it out. But finding the Vandals is useful. We're now known as the Intrepid. So because we have revealed a bunch of tiles, we've contacted some tribes, we've renamed some landmarks. Basically, we're very much so an explorer archetyped character, which is typical for the early game, because that's what you're going to do a lot in the early game. So now that's actually given our leader a new nickname. He's known as King Romulus the Intrepid. And depending on sort of different tasks you perform, you can get different nicknames and stuff like that. It's kind of a cool system. I like it. It's very emergent. And I think that's like one of the things I really, really like about this game, is that it still feels like I'm playing a 4X game, but it has that very narrative driven emergence to it that I think a lot of 4X games don't have. A lot of 4X games kind of rely on the player to be the one to give, to generate the narrative. Now, there's something interesting here we can do, is I can't get the settler to this city until next turn, but I do have the ability to force march if I wish. And basically I spend 100 of the sort of military the military resource that I was talking about there just a minute ago, the training, and it would allow me to move my unit beyond its means. So there, I could force march at one tile and force march at another tile. Now I believe it costs extra orders. It basically doubles the orders cost to forced march. So I'm spending a lot of orders to get the city down on this turn, but I'm also getting the city down on this turn, which is pretty powerful. Now, who do I want to found? Let's see, I can't tell really very well what's around here. So I'm kind of tempted to found a champion city again. It would allow me to continue to recruit military units. Going for landowners again. I don't see a crop resource here. I also don't see a lot of military resources in this area. So I think I'll just found a Julius city, which actually kind of worked out here because there is lots of game and elephants in the local area. This is Pontus Aelius, and I'm going to just do the same thing I did in the other one. I just want to get a little bit of an early game military going. So a couple of slingers will help here. Let's go ahead and heal my unit. Costs an order to heal your units. Units do not heal automatically. Like, again, every action is a big deal. Training a settler, you may have to defeat some barbarians to access more city sites. Barbarians do not act like tribes. You are always at war with them, and they're good to target for early expansion. So I think my next expansion area is this tribe, and this tribe. These are my three sort of targets. And I'll be using my warrior here with my leader attached to take those on. Keeping exploring. We have found another nation. Okay, this is Persia. To conduct diplomacy, we have to appoint an ambassador. To appoint an ambassador, we need to research aristocracy, which I believe is a technology. I don't remember which tech it's under, but it might be after religion. But they are actually occupying this city site. So if I wanted to take this from them, I would have to have a military in the local area. And it looks like their capital city is down to the south, which is very interesting. I'm curious to see what potential resources they might be taking from me in this eastern area. So I think I might prioritize settling this barbarian, or like taking this out with this slinger and warrior, so I can push in the direction of Parsa. Still have a couple of orders left. I don't know if exploring to the south here is the right move. I think I'm going to start heading back up to the north. So let's head back up here. And skadoosh, right, another thingy. The diviner, the woman, the seer, sits upon a crumbling dais in the center of the ruins, arms raised to the heavens. I've been waiting for you, she says, as she inhales fumes from the stone dish. She claims to be a seer and oracle, a voice of divine. I will serve you faithfully until the end of your reign. So I could get another court scholar, which is interesting. I could get a random technology if I was religious. I think I'm going to make her a court scholar because now I'm getting the advantage of her skills. So I'm getting a little bit of science out of her. I'm getting a little bit of law and a little bit of money. Seriously, adding people to your court is super useful. Super duper 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 useful. Right, military drill discovered. Both of these technologies I need to pick up. So I'll just 1 year them. It's a nice thing about having a really, I feel like I've built up a pretty strong court here. This is the spring equinox. This is a random event. It could just happen at any point. The spring and the tender flowers are in bloom, painting the land in vivid pastels. Your family members of the court have gathered to celebrate the spring equinox, a time when the light and darkness are in balance and the hope permeates the air. How shall we remember this wondrous day and ensure the future generations may enjoy the same? So we could say all will remember our greatest deeds, so we can enact epics. So if we start the epics law, we will fulfill an ambition. We could also enact exploration as an ambition. These are like basically goals for me to enact a law. Or I can say enact slavery. Or I could just straight up pick up 60 experience here, which will get this guy closer to leveling up. I may go for slavery this game. The extra orders can be really, really useful to get you over that early sort of hump you can have. My question is, if I go to my law screen, where are the laws? Yeah, none of my families are against slavery or in favor of freedom. So I'll probably go slavery this game. So I'm going to go ahead and enact the ambition to enact slavery, and if I can complete this, I will get some legitimacy. So I'm going to move you down towards these guys and heal you another turn. So you're fully healed now. I can go start fighting these barbs. Got my worker over here, and I think the very first thing I want to do is to get this farm online. Or wait, hold on. What is this? This is a citrus. It requires a grove. Oh, well, let me undo this. Now, I know the landowners have special abilities, right? What do they do again? Yeah. So they're better at rural specialists. Let's have a look. Where would be a good spot to build myself a farm? There's a +8 farm right here, so let's get that one started. But you know what else I'm going to do, actually? Change my mind. I need to extend this city's borders because I need to start extracting stone from these mountain tiles, and it's the most efficient place to put them. So I think I'm actually going to put myself a hamlet here, because you can see here, there'll be like a little ghost of land where the hamlet will claim tiles. And so if I put that right here, 4 years from now, I'll claim these. I need to get my stone income up because that's how you build wonders. And this is a potentially really good city for me to generate lots of stone. Okay, we're finding some good knowledge about the world. I'm very happy with my exploration so far. I'm definitely feeling like I'm going to be expanding west and east at the same time in different proportions. All right, let's continue to explore. I want to open up the pathway. Oh, we found the Strymon River. I wanted to open up the pathway for my warrior to come down here and start clearing out this nonsense. And any leftover orders you have will be converted into money. Oh, so my brother Duke Remus he's basically become greedy, which is actually a negative trait. It's not good. Oops, I did not mean to select forestry. Let's have a look at what options we have. We can get labor force, which would allow me to enact slavery, which is my ambition right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up labor force. And there's a couple of barbs here that we need to take care of. So let's get started on that. Now, attacking here. Now that my leader is sort of the general of this army, attacking will actually generate me experience for him. As you can see here, Romulus has no XP. I attack, and then I hover over Romulus, and he should now have, you can see here, 15 XP. So I'll be able to level him up pretty quickly from that sort of endeavor. I have a warrior over here. Could I potentially add a general? Let's see. I've got my oligarch Posthumus the hero, Queen Consort Porcia, so I could put my wife in charge of this guy, or I could use the seer. Does putting her in charge of this remove her ability to give me science? I hope not. I don't think it does. If I put my queen in charge of this, she could potentially level up as well. And she has a really, really good chance to crit, actually. A 28% chance to crit when she's leading a unit, which is really, really powerful. Yeah, let's put my queen in charge of this unit. What else do I need to do? I kind of would like another warrior. So I'll train one more. 3 warriors in the early game seems pretty okay. I'd love to build some barracks here, but I think I also need to just increase my mining. So I'm going to probably place down a little mine triangle, which will give me a 10% boost on each mine. Because I believe every mine gets a 10%, or it'll give me a 20% boost on each mine. Because every mine gets a 10% boost for every mine that's adjacent to it. And that's the same is true for every improvement. So every farm gets 10% bonus for every farm that's adjacent to it. So the game kind of encourages you to build your infrastructure in clusters, which I think is really, really cool because it makes the city planning a little bit more interesting. You can get it's not a huge change by any stretch of the imagination, but it does make things a little bit more interesting. You can optimize things in a pretty interesting ways. All right, cool. Let's kill this with my warrior, pick up a little bit more XP on our hero. And I think getting kills actually gives you extra. Let's start sending our queen over to clear out these barb camps. Now we are running low on food, so I'm going to buy a little bit to give me a buffer. I'll need some farms very, very soon. I'll probably get these fishing tiles up too once the oracle is finished. And I'm also going to use my scout here to just harvest these 3 game and pick up a little bit of food as he sort of moves around. I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on harvesting here because I'm basically sitting on orders that have no uses. So if I spend my time harvesting, it's a great way to use those orders to supplement my economy. Lots of marble and ore over here, actually. Very nice. A momentous meeting. Okay, we have actually met Carthage. Carthage means it's no hammer, so they say. I could accept their gracious gesture, but give me 100 food. I would like 100 food. It's quite a lot. Or I could refuse to treat with them, which would give me legitimacy. I think I'd prefer I could become steadfast. Okay. I think I'm going to go for the more appeasing, peaceful direction. I do lose a little bit of legitimacy, but I pick up some food, which I like. All right, lovely. We have our very first slinger, which is basically a very, very basic ranged unit. They do a little bit of damage at range. They have higher combat strength than hills. Do I want to add a general to this? I think I do. Let's see. I could put the seer in charge. No longer lead the warrior. I could make Faustus the commander. Yeah, I'll put the seer in charge of this. I find putting people in charge of units early game is a great way to level them up. So Thoranda has finished its construction queue. Probably good now to pick up a worker. Workers do eat food, but they also produce, the majority of your resources in the game. All right, time to get harvesting with these scouts. It'd also be good to just do a little bit of general. Ooh, okay, the Scythians are honestly the scariest of the tribes in my opinion because they have cavalry units. So until you get things like spearmen, they can be hard to deal with. I might just pop you back inside my territory to heal real quick. Skadoosh. Ooh, okay, we built the oracle. And you know what? I think that's a pretty good place. Ooh, actually, we could get spearmen or axemen. Damn, axemen are strong. If you compare it to the warrior, they're +1 combat strength, but they have +25% against polearm. A little bit more expensive to train, but they're a lot better. A lot better. Spearmen are better at attacks forward, so I think that means they pierce, maybe? Spearman's good at mounted units. It depends. Am I going to be attacking Nubia first, or am I going to be attacking the Danes first? If I'm attacking the Danes, it might be good to go for Axemen, but the sooner I deal with the Nubians, the better. These mounted marauder units are terrifying. They're really fast. Some of them are ranged. They can go to war with me, dispatch like raiding parties. I think I'm going to go to war with the Danes first. I think that makes a little bit more sense for me, because the Nubians are going to be harder for anyone else to kill. But yeah, I'm going to call that the end of that episode. Now that we have Oracle, we should be able to draw more cards. We have the beginnings of an empire here. We have 4 cities settled. We're clearing out another barb camp here as well. And one over here too, which is tons of fun. But yeah, I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.